Welcome back. This is Point of View on Country TV and my special guest Tim Brittain, who's from AngusPure and had a career breeding these wonderful animals. They talk about the aging, the marbling, and that consistent taste and juiciness. I'm salivating now. That's what Angus is all about?
That's what AngusPure is all about, yes, for sure.
So how do you define, I guess, Angus and AngusPure? Is there...
We have various standards that go in behind the brand, the grading of them, P1, P2, from a steer or heifer, age for a minimum of 21 days, pH less than 5.8, technical things like that.
So like the Australians and the Americans, your AngusPure beef here is certified as such. Is that what you'd say?
We don't use the word certified,
no,
because that's a brand that's owned by the Americans.
Right.
But AngusPure has its own verification or certification standards.
Yeah.
And launching a brand extension in November, which has even higher standards attributed to that. Yeah.
So that will replace the current standards, or?
No, it won't. We'll still have the AngusPure brand, but
Yes.
we'll have a brand extension, AngusPure Special Reserve, which will have some higher marbling standards to improve even more the consistency and the juiciness and tenderness.
So what's brought that on? Why that decision to extend it?
There have been a lot of other Angus brands come onto the market, and we really think we need a point of difference beyond those to assure the consumers that AngusPure is the very best Angus brand in the market. And research from around the world suggests that marbling is the key thing that can give that guarantee or assurance of those standards being met. So the AngusPure Special Reserve brand will primarily be aimed for export, but we will have some high quality product available for food service in this country.
I mean, how do you produce marbling? Is that an easy thing for a layman to understand? Is it something you can do, or what?
Yeah, certainly. Angus is a breed that's more predisposed to marbling than most others.
What is marbling? I mean, I know
It's
what it is.
that fine fleckled fat
Yeah.
through the meat, which helps it when it's cooking to...
So it's little strands, effectively.
Yeah, strands.
It gives it that marbling effect. Yes.
That's right. So how do you produce it? Well, you have the right genetics for a start, and you can build on that by selecting animals with those genetics. And the other half of the equation, of course, is the feed.
Yes.
So, genetics on its own is not going to turn an animal into produce marble product, but the genetics combined with the right feeding regime will certainly produce it.
And what is the right feed? I mean, is it good old-fashioned grass? Or?
Well, AngusPure is a grass product, and so it's a matter of a nice rising plane of nutrition prior to slaughter, but having good nutrition right through the animal's life, really, not being checked.
And I mean, is the the luck of the draw in the sense that if you've got better grass than someone else, is that part of the process, or can you make your grass of a substance that is beneficial to marbling, etc.?
Well, there are lots of new grass species that have been developed that have a high octane, if you like, which assists with that. But also, in the last couple of years, there's been a growing trend to finish cattle on fodder beet through the winter. And that's another way of getting animals to assist in the marbling process prior to slaughter.
And of course the process, I mean, it takes a while, presumably. I mean, as you say, for genetics it's 2 or 3 years before you actually see the product.
It is, and when you're breeding, you really want to have sort of a high marbling bull going over females, and then their female progeny going over a high marbling sire again. So it's more than one generation to be able to really build it effectively into a grass regime.
Yeah. So these require genetics and the carcass information. How does it apply to your own operation at Storth Oaks?
One of our breeding objectives has been to concentrate not to lose the maternal attributes of Angus and the fertility, but to concentrate on the carcass end, because our view has always been that to keep commercial farmers farming beef cattle as a land use, we need to be able to build more value into what they're turning off. And that consumers are now demanding higher quality product all the time. That's a growing trend, and we don't think it's going to stop. So we have, in our breeding program, selected animals that have carcass attributes, good marbling, and have been going down that track for a number of years, and we are really seeing the results from that, and we're assisted now with new technologies like genomics and DNA, which is allowing us to select those animals at a much younger age and cull the animals that don't look like they're going to add value. So we've got products now like HD50K and I50K, which is...
How have they been? Have you developed those yourselves? Or
No.
This has come in...
They've come in from the US, really. I mean, the US is the powerhouse of the beef industry, and companies like Zoetis in the US have developed these products, and they really are assisting the producers. I mean, the US are the early adopters,
Yes.
but really I look at it like a paradigm shift in the beef industry, whereas in the past we've had things like artificial insemination and embryo transfer, the box beef, breed plan for our EBVs. In my view, genomics is the next shift, the next stage, and it will come through, and we're starting to see products become available for commercial farmers to use for their own selection as well. So if you've got a commercial farmer who wants to retain, or has 100 heifers to select from and he wants to keep 50, he'll have tools that will allow him to select those 50 based on this genomic prediction of what they're likely to produce in their lifetime. So it's quite exciting.
How well through are you? I mean, how long have you been working on the genomics?
Well, we've been using it for about 5 years.
And are you seeing now, you're seeing the product of that?
Yes.
It's exciting?
Yeah, and at Storth Oaks now, we DNA a calf the day it's born. We take a sample and have that assessed. So on every animal born on the property. So we're able to see when it's really a few weeks old what the genetic makeup is and whether that animal's got potential.
Wow.
So it's going to be able to speed up as well as improve the quality of the product going forward.
Yeah, well, that's exciting, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, how big a herd do you have?
We calve about 300 to 310 registered females. And we're selling we have an on-farm bull sale and we sell 70 rising 2-year-old bulls each year.
Really? Wow. And I mean, with AngusPure, are you involved at all in the processing or is it basically you provide the raw material, as it were, and then the processing is done and value added or whatever, the marketing, etc.?
Well, I'm involved at that level from AngusPure's perspective.
Right.
And from AngusPure also runs the verification process for McDonald's through the meat plants, which I'm involved with as well. So,
have you changed your operation in response to modern technology? I know obviously genomics is modern technology effectively, but other ways, is it?
We are reasonably at the sharp end, I suppose, of technologies. I mean,
that sounds somewhat understated.
Well, we're unusual as a beef herd. Probably we really use bulls, so we're basically an all AI herd, really? Apart from the odd follow-up sire that we might use. But so we run extensive AI fixed time AI programs. We use every measurement and tool that we can to try and get there a bit quicker. I mean, as I mentioned before, cattle is a long-term business. So it's frustrating, but you've really life's short, so you've got to make progress quickly.
It may not happen overnight, but it will happen.
Yeah, indeed.
Now, I understand as well you're a bit of a barbecue fan, surprise, surprise, and AngusPure are sponsors of Meat Stock in Auckland. Well, tell us about this. It's a festival.
This festival's all about the American low and slow barbecuing and using the low or lesser value cuts of meat, cooking them for a long time. And really, Meat Stock is the first significant festival of its type in New Zealand. The American low and slow has taken off in Australia over the last 3 or 4 years.
Can you describe what it is?
Sure. It's cooking food.
It takes forever.
It takes like brisket, pork shoulder, things like that you might cook for 10 to 12 hours. Right. I work in Fahrenheit, at 225 to 250 Fahrenheit, and take them through to an internal temperature of probably around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So
So this festival basically has all these different people there cooking this, and the festival goers come and taste test. Is that sort of vaguely it, or?
Yeah, there'll be food trucks selling barbecue, but there'll be 25 or 30 teams of up to 4 people competing in a barbecue competition, cooking 4 or 5 categories. In New Zealand, we include lamb, as well as the traditional pork ribs, pork shoulder, brisket, and chicken. Yeah. I went to the one in Sydney this year, and it was fantastic. I've done quite a bit of judging at the competitions in Australia, and I think our population will be captured by it like it has been there. It's a great festival. It's also going to incorporate a butcher's competition.
So when's this happening? When?
End of February 2017, so I think it's the 25th, 6th of February. Looking forward to that.
So that's going to be a real midsummer really, isn't it? Effectively, it'll be a wonderful festival to be a part of. So what are the plans for AngusPure in the future?
Well, we want to grow the brand and grow into the export market as well, and that's what I mentioned before with the Special Reserve brand. We see that as an export-focused brand. Yeah. We're doing some exciting things. We've got Jess Prowles, who's come on as a brand ambassador, and she'll be part of our launch in November of the Special Reserve program.
Now, I guess we should finish with perhaps do you have a favourite AngusPure cooking technique that you enjoy that you could share with us?
Low and slow. It's got to be an AngusPure brisket for sort of 10 hours. That's hard to go by. And then the burnt ends, that's just delicious. But in a more traditional sense, I'm an OP rib man as a steak.
An OP rib, sorry.
Which is really ribeye on the bone.
Oh, right.
Sort of a 500 or 700 gram one of those. Hard to go by.
Oh my goodness! Oh, that's exciting. And the future. I mean, let's go sort of more holistic with the farming scene. It's been through tough times. I mean, the industry is still going through tough times. But do you feel optimistic?
I do. I mean, the beef markets for the last 2 or 3 years have been very strong. It's just sort of coming off that a bit. It goes in cycles, and it's driven by the US, and there's more product coming online there. But we have been sheltered a bit because of the shortage in Australia. They went through a drought and killed a lot of their herd, and so they're rebuilding. Yeah. But I think if we talk about brands like AngusPure at the quality end of the market, that's where we've got to focus as a country and really produce for people who want the very best and can afford to pay for it. Yeah.
It's the point of difference we have, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're not going to grow rich sort of just manufacturing beef all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. Excellent. Well, lovely, Tim. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate the time. And that was a real insight into Angus and AngusPure. Fantastic. Great homegrown product. And that's our point of view. We'll have another point of view at the same time next week. Look forward to your company then.